You mentioned they're kind of like small, punchy organizations. There's a lot of ones, thankfully, still thriving, but recently a lot of shuttered, like Galvin shuttered. BuzzFeed UK's, I think, ceased operations. Vice is in trouble.
Yeah.
What is it that makes? Why are these outlets get a lot of following and a lot of hype, and people enjoy them, but they just struggle to kind of turn it into making it sustainable? What do you think is it that makes that so difficult?
I think to punch through a lot of the time, you have to kind of gamify the whole thing. So I spoke to Ben Smith, who edited BuzzFeed News for a little while recently, and it kind of felt like a lot of the ways that these places kick through was things like Facebook traffic, and then you just simply can't decide what Facebook is going to do forever. So you can game Facebook and you can work out what's going to go on for it, and then they can say, fuck off, we want to do something completely different now, we want to use different platforms, we want to use different publishers, we want to make you pay for it, and it's going to go down. And we've seen that with Twitter now. We've seen Elon Musk just go, we're going to completely crush your Twitter numbers and pay for us if you want, or don't. Then you have the conscious issue of going, well, from a branding level, should I be paying for it because people won't like that about me? So I think a lot of these places will, when they peak, it's by coming through on something which is, often good content, but also working out a strategy which allows them to push that forward. And those strategies aren't necessarily of their own accord. It's using something else. Whereas somewhere like, the New York Times has persistently been incredibly successful because the New York Times does what it does and has always done what it does and will always do what it does and has faith that it's really, really good. And so it's just stuck through it. They've also got buckets of money as well. But I think some of these other places, you will see them switch tack, should I say, because of these external pressures. So, that can work really well for people for a short amount of time, but then you can quite easily have the rug completely pulled out from underneath you.
And the New York Times kind of have messed up a little bit recently because they've brought on extra, arms and legs or whatever the professional term for that is. I mean, like
Staff.
Well, no,
it's called Wordle.
The Athletic was a huge loss maker for them. I think it was $8 million or something like that. It just absolutely, but they're keeping.
Well, I remember I worked for a local paper when the Athletic was kind of deciding to go into British sport and go into football. And it was just crazy. They just came across with such an aggressive strategy of just going, come do the exact same job you're doing, but we'll pay you, twice as much money because we're an American company.
Yeah. Do you know who else did that? GB News.
Yeah.
They really did.
Oh, yeah, they paid stupid money.
Stupid money.
Yeah.
But then it's like, how much is my soul worth? And frankly, it was too much, is what they were offering me. So I said no.
My soul is not actually worth that much.
Yeah, how dare you?
But this goes into the sort of wider thing of, you do have to consider how much people are being paid. And I think as well, you think of these sort of smaller organizations which, perhaps can't pay their staff so well. And I'd see it when I worked for the Evening Standard for a little bit in online news, and people would persistently go to the Daily Mail and the Sun because it was just a pay bump instantly for doing the same thing. And that was going from somewhere that was also a legacy outlet. So if you then consider that you're, somewhere that's plucky, giving people opportunities, maybe taking people who are lesser qualified, people from different sort of backgrounds, unfortunately that may also coincide with paying them less money at the same time as what some of these places do when it's smaller, because, you're providing someone a platform they might not get at a legacy place. But then somewhere legacy comes along and goes, well, we're just going to take the talent and pay them more money. So how sustainable can that be? To be a journalist and to not have some variety of kind of family financial backing, sometimes I think people would consider to be quite misjudged. Really.
Yeah, I think that's why I always get frustrated when we're specifically on the left. I have never worked for these outlets, but people will criticize certain journalists who take roles at the Mail, or I'm not even going to say the Sun because that's but the Mail or the whatever. And it's like, well, you have to get a roof over your head. You have to put, you have to somehow live and subsist, and then hope that one day that will lead on to you doing the actual journalism that you'd eventually like to do. I mean, realistically, when you come into this job, you're getting paid about 21,000. Yeah. It's really not very much money. And then you have to live in London or Manchester. How do you afford to do that if you don't have your parents paying for it?
Yeah, my first job working in journalism was for a news agency. So it was just kind of, the Mail, the Sun, the Times or whatever would just get hold of you and send you out to court or send you out to do a death knock or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And I mean, that got me into journalism, and it did give me a good grounding in training. It made me do some sort of, a lot of work that I didn't enjoy doing very much, hence why I don't do it anymore. But that allowed me that foot through the door because, I didn't maybe have the resources to go and do a master's course somewhere in London and then go and do some part-time free journalism somewhere or go and do a week's work experience somewhere for free because I couldn't get to London. I lived in Leicester for a little while and now my family are in Lincoln. The cost of getting down here for a week was just not sustainable.
And they've closed all the local papers. But that's where the classism comes into it because there's sort of this assumption that if you want to break into journalism, you kind of like the journalism people turn around and go, where would you like to go? That you welcome you in with open arms. Oh, that kind of leads nicely into, so when you first get your job in journalism, I didn't realize that we were going to do such a media heavy podcast, but hey, here we go, guys.
I hope you're enjoying.
When you first get your job, a lot of the work that you'll be doing on the daily is copywriting. So there will be a story that comes in from Press Association or Associated Press, and then you rewrite that in the style of your newspaper, and that goes online. And you basically do that about 18 times a day. And then there's this really fancy leaderboard in the office, which basically ticks up how many clicks your article has had, and you are rewarded by getting your salary if it's a good number.
It's like a target incentive for like clicks online, isn't it?
Yes.
So
some places will do bonuses for it. I mean, and a lot of people just want the kudos of being the most read. And, I've been in a newsroom where you would get a monthly email saying this person is the most read journalist this month.
Yeah. Well, we
have to read that too. Everything is just,
We found 2 examples online of some quite good. I would click this article. I think I did click the article. So the first one we found was from which outlet?
They're both Express.
So they're both from the Daily Express, both online. But the first headline is GB News praises Princess Kate's well-shaped backside after ex-IRA man's vile tirade.
Isn't that great?
It's just like, it's got everything the Express wants in there.
That is an absolutely like textbook bit of I don't even know if it's clickbait because you are getting what that is promised. You are getting an article about.
Well, I think there are plenty of places which want to write a headline before they write a story.
Yeah.
Or they want to find the things. I remember when I worked at The Standard, there was a story about people were doing so much coke in London and then it was going into toilets and then going through to eels and the eels were getting high from cocaine. And I did the follow-up story, which is cocaine in the Thames is another problem eels don't need, which is like a constant British problems meme all the time. And that was just literally, it's been there like, the eel story is doing so well. And we're like, but what more can we write about it? And I was just like, I don't know, really. And I was ringing up fucking pie shops saying, like, are you worried about this? And they were like, we obviously don't get our eels from the Thames. So no, we're not remotely concerned by this. And I was calling up, these people are just looking at me like, what? Well, not looking at me, just going down the phone thinking, what are you talking about? Yeah. And then I just found this sort of quite well-meaning Waters guy who, I said, is this just another problem eels don't need? And he said, yeah, it is. And I just thought, there you go. Really that's the headline.
Was it Fergal Sharkey?
Yeah, no, unfortunately, it wasn't Fergal Sharkey. We had someone in the office the other day actually who didn't know Fergal Sharkey had been in a band.
That's us.
No way.
Oh yeah.
It was you.
I was on my way down here to interview him, and then
one of us mentioned
Ed was like, "Oh yeah, he got great songs, Fergal Sharkey." I was like, "What? What do you mean?"
I just thought he was a really popular water person.
Yeah, that's what I just assumed. And thank God he said that.
That appeals to you. I think like you're one of the few people who a really famous water person would appeal to.
Yeah.
Like a water expert, you'd be like, this guy rules.
I did. I was only following him for his
takes on
work on the rivers.
Take on safe water.
Look, I've got a big interest in the waterways and our Victorian plumbing system.
Well, that's good. Everyone needs a hobby.
Not as good
you
as
and the eels probably have the same amount of interest in water.
Yeah. Well, me and the eels are all turning up in the city on a Thursday night to talk about fintech. So,
and podcasts.
And podcasts.
Coked out to the gills.
Okay, this other Express headline was good because this is like SEO. Do you know you're trying to hit every single click possible? Yeah. So it's Carol Vorderman and woke banks prove Brexit was just the start of fight to save Britain. What's happening there?
That's good. Carol Vorderman, hate figure, as in people on the right hate her.
Yeah.
Woke banks, people fucking hate woke banks now.
Yeah.
Monzo, people hate Monzo.
Cashless, hate them.
Yeah. They hate that. They hate 5-minute cities and they Love Brexit.
5-minute cities. You've even
Yeah, that'd be
used-
so
15.
fast.
That'd be
That's
Yeah.
tiny.
Imagine that. That'd be good.
No, that sounds like
It's unfeasible.
no. A 5-minute city sounds like prison. Like the 15-minute is like
Well,
you can glacially walk around like you're in Nintendo.
in prisons they get plasma televisions.
Well,
So they might as well be a city.
Flat screen TVs.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, have you ever not seen a flat screen TV like, in the last fucking 20 years?
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the idea of a 5-minute city. I feel like I would save some money, just get
Yeah.
healthy, just
Well,
chill
you may-
out,
well, but then maybe-
not see loads of people.
I wouldn't be a 5-minute city wouldn't be as healthy because you have a shorter distance to walk. A 15-minute
Maybe.
city, that's like a nice walk.
Yeah.
5 minutes is like you're barely leaving your house.
Yeah, well, it's basically Stoke Newington. It's pretty much a
Yeah.
5-minute
Yeah.
city, really.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
That was
good.
a real London media class
Yeah.
joke there. That's one.
Yeah.
That's one.
Yeah,
that's
no,
one
I had
for
to
the-
bring it in. I'm here from the
That's one
Centrist
for our
Podcast.
listeners in
Yeah.
Hackney.
yeah.